Hi everyone, it's Shannon and welcome to today's video. So I am finally getting around to talking about the Danessa Myricks Beauty Groundworks Defining Neutrals palette. So it's not an eyeshadow palette, it's just a palette because it's really for it's really a face palette. It's for your brows, your eyes, your lips, everything. And I received this, I was gifted by the brand right before Labor Day weekend, but my family and I went out of town and I wasn't able to film. I did post it on my Instagram, but that was it. And I have to be honest, it kind of is intimidating because it is very, you know, it's very neutral. So kind of, you know, when you look at that, it's like, okay, it's not that big of a deal, but it is a face palette. And these are all, there's 10 shades, but then there's 2 formulas in each shade. And it is supposed to be a true face palette. So I look at this and I'm a little intimidated. So I'm going to attempt to use it. As you can see, I have not used it at all. I have not even swatched it. So I'm going to swatch it and I'm going to attempt to use it so you can see what it's like to use it for someone who is not a makeup artist, who, you know, is good at doing makeup, but not necessarily, you know, amazing, and see how I use it. Now, I do think I'm going to like really enjoy it and play with it once I get the hang of it. But to do it first on camera is a little intimidating, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Let's go ahead and talk about the palette and what it is and do some swatches. Okay, so looking on the Danessa Myricks website, it states Defining Neutrals Palette for Eyes, Brow, Face, and Lips, and it is a multi-use talc-free palette with velvety pomades and coordinating oil-absorbing shaping powders that easily define eyes, brows, cheeks, and lips. What else you need to know? An everyday all-over face essentials palette with curated neutral shades for all skin tones. Buildable colors for eyes and face to create soft to bold results with a velvet satin finish. One palette, 2 unique textures for each of the 10 shades. And the Velvet Pomade is described as a high-performance, lightweight pomade that applies with ease. And then the Shape and Fix powders in coordinating tones infused with Upsalite to control oil and smooth texture while locking in shape and definition. Your go-to palette that makes it easy to do makeup like a pro. And you know, one of the first things when I opened it up, when I first got it, was it reminded me of something that a makeup artist would really enjoy and would really find useful. But doesn't necessarily mean that it's not for the average consumer. But I don't think it's for every consumer either. I think it's for, you know, probably someone like me who likes to get glam, likes to contour, you know, likes to experiment. I don't think this is for, you know, an everyday consumer. But I'm going to try and I'm going to attempt to use it. I think at the end of the day, I will enjoy it once I get the hang of it. It's just a matter of how much will I use it? You know, how much do you, like, I can definitely see where I can use this for brows, but when I go into brows, am I gonna do this, or am I just gonna go to my Holy Grail pencil? And I don't know, that's yet to be determined. But let's get into the shades. So there are 10 shades, and you'll see here. Okay, so the 10 shades are Sandstone, Desert, Mirage, Chiseled, Sculpted, Stone, Core, Harvest, Bark, and Tourmaline. So those are the 10 shades, and like I said, there's 2 in each shade. So what I'm going to do, and I have not even like seen the pomade, and the pomade is, let's see, it's a pomade. I mean, it kind of feels like a clay almost. So let's kind of do some swatching here. So I'm going to swatch the pomade. So that is Sandstone, Desert, Mirage, Chiseled, Sculpted, Stone, Core, Harvest, Bark, and Tourmaline. So those are the 10 shades. These are the pomades. I'm not going to swatch the powders because it's going to be the same color, but you can kind of see where it is, you know, it's a neutral palette, but a lot of different types of tones. You've got some warm, you've got some cool, you've got some neutrals, like really all, you know, it really kind of just runs the gamut here. So, but that, those are the 10 shades. Okay, so I pulled my hair back a little bit and I'm gonna start with the brows. So I'm gonna start with sandstone. I'm going to kind of define, kind of like highlight it with sandstone, and then I'm gonna go in with the shade Chiseled, I think, to do my brow. Let's see how this works. So I'm just going to, now I do have foundation and concealer, but that's pretty much it. I did do a light dusting of powder, but not a lot. Just enough to just set my face a little bit, but I knew that I'm going in with the pomade, so I didn't want to use too much. So I'm going just in with and just kind of defining the brow like that, like so. And you can see, I mean, it's a very pale shade, which it wasn't going to show up too much, but it's showing up enough. And now I'm going back in with the powder and just setting it with the same shade powder. Now I'm gonna take a brow brush and I'm gonna go in with the shade, I think Chiseled is probably the closest to my brows, or what they would be if, I mean, if I had, right, my brows are pretty much transparent. They're blonde. So I typically dye them. So just kind of filling them. They are dyed right now, they are tinted. So my problem is sometimes I make them a little too dark, you know, but it's that I think this is a good shade for me. Yeah, I think so. And it's going on really nice. I really like this for the brows. Actually, I could see myself using this for the brows quite a bit. Okay, so I did both brows with the pomade, and now I'm gonna go back in with just the powder just to kind of set it. And I think the color's pretty good. I think it's a little deeper, a little darker than what I would prefer. Maybe I'll mix it next time with the sandstone to kind of lighten it. I don't know. That's the only thing. And also, sometimes I don't know until I watch it back on camera. I watch it back on camera, I'm like, oh, they looked great, or it looked awful and it was way too dark. So it's sometimes, usually, is when I see how my makeup came out is how it looks on camera. So, but I'm just going now in with the powder. However, for brows, I do really like this. I remember using like pomade. I remember when like 20 years ago using the Anastasia stuff. So now I've just kind of gone with a pencil and I've just kind of gotten used to that. But I do like how this looks. I like how it went on. I liked everything about it for the brows. Okay, now I'm gonna go to the eyes, and I'm gonna go in with this middle shade Mirage over the lid. I'm using the Refer 27. I'm gonna see how it works with one of these brushes. I'm not really sure. We'll see how it works with the pomade. And I'm just gonna go in the crease like I normally would. Now with this type of product and this type of texture, actually it's going on really nice. Actually I really like it. A little surprise here. Okay, so that is Mirage pretty much all over the lid. It's in the crease, but it's pretty much all over the lid. And then now I'm gonna go in with the shade Harvest, just like I would. Now I only use the pomade this time. I did not use any of the powders yet because I wanted to go in with Harvest and then set it. So I'm gonna go in with Harvest, which is like one of the deeper shades. Now, this, I will say, I was unsure how it was going to apply as, you know, a shadow, because you know, when I've done cream shadows, I've done like one and done, and this is actually going on and it's not like a cream shadow at all. It's almost going on, I think the closest thing I could kind of describe it as is that cream to powder from Natasha Denona, but it's still nothing like that, but that's the thing that's closest to it. It's kind of like a cream to powder. So I'm just going in on the outer corner and then bringing it in to kind of deepen it a little bit on the crease. Okay, so that is it with Harvest on the outer corner. Again, I am shocked how much I'm liking this. Obviously no fallout because it's a pomade, but it goes on so easy. It almost goes on like a powder, but it's not a powder. It's very confusing, to be honest. But I'm gonna go in with that lightest shade, Sandstone, and just go in on the inner corner a little bit, just to kind of brighten up the eye a little bit, and see how that is. Again, this is all stuff I'm doing on the fly. I have not paid with this, and I'm not sure if that's the best, but we'll see. I think I put a little too much the first time, but I'll blend it out with my finger, and then I'll go back in on the brow bone, even though I already did the powder. So, but I'm really liking how it looks. So I'm gonna go now with the shade Sculpted, which is this deep brown at the top, and I'm going to do that as a liner, both on the top and the bottom. I'm not gonna use the black today, just because I don't really use a lot of black liner, or if I do, it's usually just on the waterline. But this goes on, if I needed to do a black liner, this is probably what I would use, because I think it's going on really nicely as a liner. So you can see here, it's going on really nice. Now this is a very, very small, this is from Sigma, the Samantha Ravindal line, which is a great set of brushes. This is, I think, the wing liner brush. But and I'm not doing a wing liner, but as a liner brush and as a liner, this is stunning. Okay, so now that I've lined the top, I'm gonna go back in with the powder and just go over it, and that's going to set it. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with the eyeshadow. Now that's gonna be a little trickier just because I already have 2 shades on there, or 3 shades. But we'll go in with the lighter shade first, and I'll go in with the powder, and I'm just gonna set it a little bit like that, very little. Now the one complaint I have about this palette is that the powder pans are very small. So that's going to be not necessarily a problem, but that's something to think about. Like, you're not, it's kind of hard to dig in, you know, to a brush, but I think those are mainly for setting, so keep in mind. But that was one of the things I did notice, is that the powder pans are really, really small. And then now let me go in with the deeper shade, and I'm going to go in with the powder and just tap a little bit and set it. Oops. And on both sides. Okay, so I said I wasn't gonna do the black liner, but for purposes of this video, and I'm gonna wash this lid off right after, I'm gonna go ahead and do the black liner on the bottom lash, just so that I can try and use as many shades as possible. And then I went in on just about halfway in, and then the other half, I'm gonna use the shade Bark, again, just to try and use several shades. Normally I would not do this, but just want to try and use as many shades as possible. Now next I'm going to try and contour, and I think that's where it's going to be a little bit trickier. I'm going to go in with the shade Stone, and I have this Rephr 35. It's kind of like a small kabuki. It's the only brush I can think that might work for it, especially with this pomade, but we'll see how it works. It's a pretty, kind of really pretty grayish contour type shade, so we'll see how it goes on and how it blends out. Okay, so that went on pretty well. I think it's a little patchy, but I think that's more my application. Plus, I would probably use, like, go with this and then go in with my wet sponge and my damp sponge with my foundation. That's what I'm gonna have to kind of play around with. But I think it went on really nicely with the brush. It's just kind of blending it out is a little bit trickier. So I'm gonna go in a little bit on the nose as well, kind of do the same thing, just to kind of get the full effect of the palette. So I do think it's good. It's just, I think I need to play around with it to learn what's the best way to the application. But for the first time using it, not really knowing how to use these type of products, I think they're blending out really well. I just need to kind of figure out what works best for me. Okay, so now I'm going to try and use it as a blush, and there's really only one blush and lip shade that I think makes sense, and that is Core. It's the kind of the one that's the orangey terracotta one. So that's what I'm going to do for my eyes and lips. We'll see how it goes. I don't know. I have not tried this, but let's see how it looks. And so I think it's actually I think it's kind of pretty. Okay, so as a blush, I actually really like that. It's a really pretty, kind of like a terracotta. Now I'm gonna go in with the powder for both and just kind of set it with the powder on both sides with the contour and the blush, and then we'll go back in with the lips. And this is what I'm saying as far as the powder is concerned. I'm trying to go in with the blush, trying to go in with a powder brush, and it's kind of, you gotta go like that. So not the easiest. I think the powders are secondary. The pomade is really the star of these palettes, but if you do want to use it to set it, you gotta kind of be a little creative. So that's the only thing. For eyeshadows, it's really not a problem because eyeshadow brushes are fine, but if you want to use it for face, it's a little more complicated. And now I'm going to use that same shade to go in on the lips and see how it looks on the lips. Okay, so that is the shade Core on my lips. Now I want to say I went in with a brush and it just wasn't applying. My lips are a little dry right now, but I just ended up going in with my finger and applying it like that, and then using this to line the lips, which worked really well. But to put it all over the lips didn't really work. You really had to go in with your finger. I didn't powder that one because I didn't really want powder on my face, but on my lips. But let me go finish up and powder my face, set my face, put some mascara on, and come back and giving me my thoughts, because my thoughts are different than what my first impressions when I first opened it. Okay, so I'm back. I put a little bit of powder, just set my face a little bit, put mascara, and then I put some clear lip oil on my lips, but that was it. I didn't do anything else. So I'm actually pretty surprised how much I actually like this. Not that I didn't think I was going to like it, but I thought I was going to struggle to use it. And I mean, honestly, when I first, it's one of the reasons why I've kind of procrastinated doing this video, because I really wasn't sure what to do. But I finally was just like, you know what, I'm gonna go for it. And it's actually pretty easy to use. I think for me, the challenging part is for the eyes and the eyebrows and even the lips, pretty easy. For the face, it's a little bit more challenging. I do feel like I needed to blend the contour a little bit. The contour shade Stone is great for me. I think there's shades in here for everybody. And the blush even, I thought was actually a prettier blush and a prettier lip than I expected. So those, I think, just for the cheek and for the face products, for me, learning the best way to apply them. I'm sure I was not applying them, so I think it was kind of, I'm gonna chalk it up to user error, and play around with it. I do plan on trying to watch some of Danessa Myricks videos or any classes or anything she does regarding this palette. This palette just came out, so there hasn't been anything, but I want to see what she uses and how she uses it, because I think that's really going to help me. But so thoughts, it's $65. If you are a novice to makeup, don't get this. Don't get this. I think you have to have a little bit of confidence in your makeup application to get something like this. I'm not saying you shouldn't. If you are, you want to just try it, great, go for it. But I think if you are a novice and you're still trying to learn like basics about makeup or basics about how things look on you and stuff, then I think probably this is a pass for you, at least until you get more confident. For me, I kind of know how to do my makeup, right? I really kind of took a lesson. If you don't know, I took a lesson in 2020 and really been practicing, and really have kind of, now I've got it down to a T where if I need to do my makeup really fast, I can. That was not the case 3 years ago or 4 years ago. So for me, I would say I'm like more of an intermediate person, right? I'm not an expert, I'm not a makeup artist, but I'm an intermediate. I'm confident for makeup for myself. So for that, this is definitely something that I will play with, that I will experiment with, and I will definitely get use out of. And I'm surprised at that, to be honest. It's a nice, I think you could travel with it, but it's actually a really nice packaging. It's kind of hefty. You've got this kind of sticks out a little bit, but it's a really nice palette, but it's pretty heavy. So, I mean, not heavy like Pat McGrath heavy, but it's sturdy. So I don't know if it would be great to travel with, but I think you could travel with it if you're not flying anywhere. If, you know, you may be driving or doing something like a short trip. You know, I think you could get like your brows, and you could do a lot with this palette. But I think it's one of those, it's a nice have, but it's not a need. The one thing I would say is if there's a lot of neutral palettes coming out, there's one from Patrick Ta, there's a bunch of neutral palettes coming out. If you're in the market for a matte neutral palette, that I would try and get this one, because I think this one is unique enough to the Patrick Ta, the Makeup by Mario, those types of palettes. I think this one is definitely unique enough where it's going to be different than a different eyeshadow palette. It's going to give you something different. The Patrick Ta, I didn't even look at. Like, it wasn't even interest to me. You know, I have those shades. I didn't need it. The same with the Makeup by Mario. So I think that if you are in the market for, or you're looking at one of the neutral palettes, that I would get this one. I think it's great. I think it's really unique. I think I'm anxious to play with it. I will say I took, you can kind of see where it stained my arm. I really scrubbed this off. I used 2 makeup wipes and it's still stained. So there's definitely some longevity there. So, you know, I think that's also a good thing. Not for my arm right now, but it's a good thing for your makeup. So I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed. Very innovative product, not for the average consumer, and it will definitely get my creative juices going. So with that, if you like this video, click like, click and subscribe. That way you get a notification every time I post a new video. Bye everyone.